All right, welcome everybody. This is God Every Moment podcast, where we talk about faith, fitness, family, and finances. I have a special guest, CJ Cooper. Quick bio about him: he's a father, husband, and a business owner. He was a previous college baseball athlete, 13-year banking, 8-year advertising sales. He is a fellow fitness junkie. He's on two boards of FCA and also a leadership board at his church. Um, and yeah, welcome, CJ. How are you doing today?
Hey, thanks so much, Jarvis. Doing real well, thank you. This morning's off and running, right? And it's a busy day like every other day, but it's a good one, right? It's a blessing.
Yes, it is. It's definitely a blessing today. So just straight shooting right away. We go right into that first question. How important is time management with all the hats that you wear?
Well, it's maybe perhaps the most important hat that I have to wear, or the most important skill set rather, with all the hats that you wear. As men, we're wired to compartmentalize and do things one thing at a time. Our female counterparts, God created them to do so much better at multitasking than us. So my wife can grab things and pick them up and go. I need one thing at a time, which the time management is like, you almost got to block it off to know what you're doing, put something else down so I can do the next thing as well as I can. But time management's a big deal. It's also, as much as I say it's the most important skill set, it's probably the thing that I fail at.
I know, right?
Even though I don't want to. But yeah, it's extremely important. Time blocking, using my calendar effectively and efficiently, really blocking off the time and being diligent and disciplined has helped. As much as possible, even though there's some things that roll over. Jarvis, you and I both know that things roll over into the next timeline that we didn't plan on. But yeah, it's definitely that time blocking has been the biggest thing to help me for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, we definitely struggle with that sometimes. I get myself like doing something, like my wife tells me to do something, and then I'm walking that way, and I'm like, oh, I gotta do this, that, and it's like, oh, dang.
We get
distracted. You
didn't
get that
done. Yes, for sure.
Oh my gosh. All right. How did you get started in banking and advertising sales?
Sure. So I was a collegiate athlete, played baseball in college, and I was a pre-med student, and I didn't do a good job of staying disciplined in my studies as well as I should have. Love, health, fitness. I really thought orthopedic surgery, sports medicine was the way I was going.
Right.
I was not a great student, so I didn't do a good job of taking care of my studies. I was all about baseball. I was all about college and freedom and doing some things that I probably shouldn't have done. We all make our mistakes a little bit, right? And we have to learn from them. Right. So I had some skills and some gifts that were given to me and developed through some of my leadership previous, both in high school and in college. Mm-hmm. And I fell into some advertising sales. I fell into some other sales roles, and when you're trying to support yourself, you go to what's showing the most success, right? We're all about, unfortunately, instant gratification. So at that time in my life, I could learn how to sell. And so I sold stuff, and advertising was a great place to go. It was a career that kind of the company I was with moved around a little bit, back and forth, did some different things, got bought out. I ended up traveling the country quite a bit, but it was because of the blessing, really, of success that I fell into advertising more than anything. Having our third child, specifically a third child with special needs, was the motivation to get out of advertising and traveling, because I was all over the country.
Right.
I'd get on a plane at 7 a.m. I'd land somewhere by 9:30, anywhere in the Continental, and we'd be in meetings by 10 or 11 o'clock trying to sell stuff, packages and whatever else would help the client. But that was short-lived once you have your third child.
Right.
You want to have any level of being a husband or a father. So I was really blessed by some great friends, one of which was a regional manager at a large national bank here in town, and she offered me a position using the skills that I had before, but in the banking industry, so completely different. And I've kind of grown from that and had several different banking roles, both with large national companies and with small community banks, and been in that industry, been in banking now for about 15 years now.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing story. Has baseball always been your favorite sport?
Well, it's the best sport, so yes, I would say it has been my favorite. I jokingly tell people, it's a joke, but I tell people it's okay if you don't like baseball. It's kind of a smart person sport.
Right,
So,
I know. I saw that on something on Instagram the other day. It said, "You're mad that it's like it's a slow sport." It's like, and then it had said that what you just said. I was
yeah.
just dying.
It
That's
has
funny.
been. I think there's a lot to be learned for it. There's a lot of one-on-one situations, right? Pitcher hitter. There's a lot of individual performance things and metrics that you go by, but you can't win it with one person. It still takes all nine, right? And not just the nine on the field, it takes the dugout too. So there's still a lot of team for it, team aspect to it, along with individual performance. And I think the other thing that I like a lot, not that this isn't the same for other sports, but you got to put a lot of time into baseball to be good at it before you
Right.
ever step on the field, right? I jokingly say any guy with a ball and a hoop can go play basketball, right?
Mhm.
Any guy with a net and a puck can go play hockey. Not at a high level, certainly, with respect to those professional sports. But
Mhm.
I truly believe the hardest thing in all professional sports is to take a wooden bat and hit a ball being thrown at you at 90 miles an hour. I mean, good
Yeah.
luck, you know. Now, with all respect to the other sports too, but I've always loved baseball.
Right. That's amazing. So were you playing baseball at a very young age, or did you come later into the game, or how did that turn out?
Sure. So my kind of first experience is my grandfather always used to want to play catch with me. That was his thing, right? That's what we did.
Mhm.
We played a little catch. He was never a high level player. He was a Sandlot guy when he grew up. He was a small town Nebraska guy. Never had any
Mhm.
professional contracts or anything, but that's what we did. We played catch. And that's one of the things that you look back on life, and Grandpa's still with us. He's still hanging out. He probably still play catch if I asked him to, but uh, that's the start, right? When you're really little, that's what he did, is he played catch with
Right.
us. And I don't ever remember not playing baseball ever. I remember
Mm.
playing, we had some hard times growing up. So I played baseball in trailer parks and used gas meters as first base and
Hey.
and a 2x4 for second base and
Uh-huh.
somebody's corner of a house for third. It's it was never a travel like multi, thousands of dollars sport for me growing up. You got to
Right.
figure out how to get it the hard way. We were trading off gloves, going back and forth in and out of the outfield. Not everybody had their own stuff. And
Right.
eventually you get better at it as you go on later on. But
Mhm.
certainly in the better fields, I grew up and I was really privileged to have some better fields to play on, some better teams to play on, and then of course the chance to
Mhm.
play in college. So that was a huge deal. Very much so.
That's awesome. I love it. I love the grind. I love hearing those stories about how people, got started in the sport that they, love and continue to love to play. I remember like myself, like in Chicago, we had like the milk cartons, and you like cut the bottom out, put it on the backboard,
Yep,
and just play basketball.
that's it. And it was more about playing with your friends than it was like trying to prove something to anybody else besides who was on the court with you at the time, or in
Right.
the moment right there, just playing was enough. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Um, so you're on the board of your church and Fellowship of Christian Athletes. What has that been like over the years?
Sure. So previous to now, I was on the board, what we call lay leadership board. It was a great opportunity. Actually, I was one of the younger guys on it, which seemed a little odd because most guys have some more maturity. That's the nicest way I'll say that before they get on that kind of board. It was a great opportunity to hear what goes on inside a church, because it's not always about what happens on just Sunday morning. So for
Right.
me, really opened my eyes on what it takes to make Sunday morning and that experience such a great experience for people to be refueled, to go out into the rest of the world for the rest of the week. There's so much more that goes on. And it's not just preparation for worship, it's all the other things that it takes to run a church. All the staffing, all the budgeting, all the facilities. There's a lot that goes on that's not just Sunday morning. And then it helped us to also really realize what it meant to care for the staff that was in service to us as a church, full-time church workers. So that was a big deal too. Caring for those folks, purposefully seeking them out to ask them, did you read today? Did you pray today? What can we be praying for you? What can we be doing to help you? Because they're in service work, they're in full-time ministry. And
Right.
learning that was a big deal. The same goes for Fellowship of Christian Athletes today on that board. Sharing the gospel through sport is a huge important thing for me. I think that's what we still do. I mean, that's what you're doing now, right? That's what we do as coaches. I still coach high school baseball. We're sharing the love of Christ through sport, and that's a big deal. Sharing the word and spreading it to everybody that'll hear it, and using sport as the vessel to get it to them. Same deal on the board there, with a lot more. I would say I've really learned and developed some different purposeful theories and purposeful kind of methodologies on how FCA has gone about it. And I'm really encouraged by what's going to happen here in the coming years. It's really, really great when they kind of get some of the reorganization that was done in the last several years, and the way that we can have a great, huge, positive trajectory going forward.
That's amazing. I didn't know you coach baseball. Where do you coach at?
So I still coach for Lincoln Lutheran's summer team, our summer Legion team. We kind of have a mixed coaching group, so we all kind of help the JV and varsity group together.
Nice.
And then in the spring, I do my best to help out the spring team as well for Lincoln Lutheran and their co-op up the road in Wahoo, and what their spring team looks like, different capacities. My son still plays, so I'll also coach as long as they have me.
You're right. That's awesome. How would someone who wants to be on the board become a member of one?
I think the first thing is to volunteer. Spend some time in the organization, whether that's your church, FCA, maybe it's a nonprofit locally here in town, a place where you can use the skills that you have, that you've been given, that's God-given abilities. Volunteer for them. Every nonprofit needs more volunteers. They need help. So give your time before you worry about getting on a board, before you worry about trying to be influential, before you want your voice heard. Go give, go serve, go put some time in, figure out what it's all about, right? And understand who we're there to serve and whose we are, and using those gifts and abilities to spread his word through what we do.
That's good. That's good. You have many titles and accomplishments. What is the biggest title you hold, and why is that important?
So I'm a child of God. That's the biggest title. It's super simple for me. It's not banker, and I've had some pretty decent banker positions. It's not business owner, even though I own a gym here in town and with my wife, and we do some great things through that. It's not board member or some of the other things we talked about. It's not even coach, even though, quite frankly, I really feel called to be a coach. I just love it. My biggest title is child of God, and as I am held accountable by the guys that are around me, that I surround myself with every week, putting that first, right? Seek first his kingdom, and most of us know the rest of that verse. So putting the priority and the purposeful intention on being that child of God first.
Right. That's amazing. That's a great perspective to have, and we have to continue to have that, because sometimes we get so prideful or boastful about the things that we accomplish, and just being humble enough to be like, okay, God, you are above all of this stuff, and that's the most important thing that I have going on for my life. All this other stuff is like meaningless, but I'm still going to try to, if I'm a good baseball coach, I'm gonna make sure that I'm putting you first, and then baseball comes afterwards, or the board, just making sure we're spending time in the word, we're having time just fellowshipping with other people, like you said already. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So next question. After 13 years of banking, you probably get a lot of the same questions. What advice would you give your future customers coming into your bank?
From the straight banking perspective, as we take our hat more straight into finances, I would say try to be as forward looking as you can when it comes to your finances and your banking. Very rarely when somebody comes in with an emergency, is it something that you can handle right now? There's some things, right? We're all able to handle some disputes or small things with your checking account or something like that, but be as forward thinking as you can about what your needs are. And then try and plan that backwards, if you will. Hey, we know we're going to need another car. So if you come to me after your car's broken, you need a loan, in 2 seconds, it's going to be hard. If you haven't taken care of your budget before, if you haven't held your household up, if you haven't paid your bills, if you haven't done things to put yourself in a position to say, I need that other vehicle, that's something. Hey, I want to buy a house. You can't buy a house in 2 hours. I mean, you got to plan ahead of time. You got to do your best to be as forward thinking as possible. The more that you can do to set the table, the better the meal will be. That's a bad analogy and imagery, but in the banking world, that's really pretty accurate. The more things you can do to prepare prior to needing anything on the lending platform, the better. So set that table as well as you can prior to what that big celebration is going to be, whatever that might be. And I guess the other thing would be stay disciplined, right? I mean, live within your means as best you can. Try not to overextend yourselves. Everybody in the world wants to give you another credit card. Everybody wants to send something to you. If it comes too fast, as I just said, it's probably not good for you, right? If I can go get approved for $25,000 credit card in 30 seconds, that's probably not a company I want to deal with or a rate I want to deal with, right? Try not to fall into those traps, because so many of us, especially in the college years or early adulthood, we're like, sure, give me this. I want to have it. Mine, man. And I want to show somebody that I am somebody.
Right.
That's the other thing, right? So don't think for a minute that your car, your house, your other thing is a real measure of stature, because it's not.
It's not.
It's not. People earn it, they grind for it, and they can deserve to, live in whatever house they want or drive whatever car that they feel like they can have. But don't think for a minute that you're just showing off and it's going to do anybody any good, because it's only hurting yourself.
That's really good. Oh man. All right. So last question. Why is family and finances important to you?
While I may have failed in it in the past, aside from my relationship with God, my family is by far the most important thing that I have. It's a huge blessing, right? You and I probably both know people that don't have a family, or maybe can't have a family, or whatever else it might be. And we have to remain, humble in our perspective that they have, right? So it is a blessing to have our family. And for me, that's a huge deal. I'm trying to remember exactly how you worded that question, but it's important to me because it was a blessing and it was given to me, and I want to take care of it. I want to take care of those kiddos, my wife first, my kids second. Families is top of the list. I have to set a great example for my kids, because they are watching, whether you know it or not, whether you think it or not, they're mimicking your behavior.
Yes, they are.
Even when you're not around. And sometimes that's scary. When they're like little, it's easy because you can watch them do the same hand movement you did, or say the same thing back out of their mouth at 2 years old. Good word or bad word, at 2 years old, they're going to say it.
Exactly what you said.
What's harder is to see your 17-year-old son do the same thing you did when you were 17. Good, bad, or indifferent. And you hope that what we're living now, the life we live, allows him to have a little bit different example. And the same for my daughter, and the same for all 4 kids. You have to live that life and that example. So it's a huge, important thing for me. I think it's a big deal. And I think that it folds into the fact that we're supposed to be ambassadors, right? Ambassadors of the word, ambassadors of Christ to the world. We're ambassadors to our children and how they are going to be raised as adults, and how they're going to go into their world and impact it, right? Sling forth arrows, that's a blessing to be able to do it. Finances wise, I think we have to take care of our house. God calls us to take care of our household. That doesn't mean buy the biggest house on the block. That means take care of your stuff, right? It means don't be indebted as deep as you can be, right? As a banker, I have learned, and there's a skill set that there is power. You can use lending in a positive way. Not all loans are bad. You can use them in good ways. There's good things there. But as with anything else, it can be abused, right? So I think taking care of your house, taking care of your household, finances, and banking has really taught me that, and how to serve other people through that, taking care of their house, for sure. I'm a partner on that and say fitness. I think I'm gonna jump on the end of here, Jarvis, and add one more. So faith, family, and fitness a little bit.
Yes.
I think you gotta take care of ourselves, right? God did call us to take care of our bodies. It's a temple, right? And he wants us to use this to go spread his word. So we got to take care of our bodies, right?
Yes.
That means being healthy. That means being active. not all of us are genetically blessed, and there's some things you're going to have to overcome, but we got to take responsibility for where we're at, right? Not everybody has to be a bodybuilder or a nationally traveling professional sports athlete, but we are called to take care of ourselves, right? So what we put in our bodies has a direct result on what we get for an output. How often we stay active is a direct result of how much maybe pains we have or what we can get rid of to take care of our bodies. And that's the first thing we show the rest of the world is how we take care of ourselves. And I think if we're called to do that through fitness, and through good health, it's a great first impression for us to be able to be on mission for what we're supposed to accomplish when we get in front of them. So sorry, I added another one.
That's fine. It's like, yeah, you have to be able to walk down the street to serve God or to talk to someone. You can't be huffing and puffing and they're worried about your breath before you're talking about them about God. So yeah, that's definitely a big one right there. But thanks for everyone for listening. Follow God Every Moment on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Again, this is CJ Cooper. It was a pleasure talking to you. Also, you are a business owner. Do you have any events coming up that you'd like people to know about?
Right now, we've got kind of a free week going. We had a friends and family week at our gym, Fit for Lincoln, here in Lincoln, at just north of 33rd and A. So we got a free week coming for anybody who wants to come. We'll tag on a friends and family. So just bring anybody you want to come try it out.
Awesome.
We'll have some more stuff throughout the summer coming, and another nutritional presentation. We kind of do a little community barbecue every summer. Try and do some things to get everybody involved, to get as outreach in the community as we can get, but also to encourage people to come be a member and stay consistent in what we can offer them as a gym through our boot camps and through our 3 pillars personal performance.
Awesome. That's great.